Hello there. So Unit 3, this is a fun unit. It can be a lot of work, or it can be not as much work. But students really enjoy this one because we're kind of turning you loose from sort of the academic strictures. Now, this course, obviously, so far you've done a report on a discourse community and you've done an informative article, which is not neither one of which are your usual academic stuff. But now we're going to really spread it, push you a little bit. And this is the assignment sheet, which I'm gonna go over for a second. What we're creating is a multimodal project, which I'll talk about in a second. But first I want to go back to the idea of genre. These are different genres we're going to be using. You've already done a report, which is a genre. You've done an article, which is another genre. But what is genre? Well, in genre in 1101, if you've taken the new curriculum, you learned that this is a really sort of a foundational idea for people in my field and for you as well. We all kind of know what genre is. It's how we label things. We know, for example, it's how we choose the books we read or the movies we watch or the video games we play. You know, if you like horror, you know, you're going to choose horror movies or horror games because you expect certain things from a horror film, right? You expect jump scares and spooky music and dark, and some idiot is going to go exactly where the killer is, and after people are telling her, don't go in that door. Right? Those are what we call conventions. Those are the things that we expect from a specific genre. For example, when you do an instruction manual, like you do in technical writing, you expect pictures and instructions in a certain order so you can actually follow them. Right? So those are conventions. It seems pretty simple. But they have a lot to do with the work that we do, because if you're on a job and your boss asks you to do a recommendation report about a specific piece of software or to recommend a piece of software, you're not going to write an instruction manual on how to use it. No, you're going to choose a different genre. You're going to do a recommendation report, right? Once you learn to think in terms of genre, what are they asking me for? What is the genre that they're looking for? What are the conventions of the genre? Particularly in the workplace, because not every report is the same if you go from job to job, as you'll find out. You need to ask, say, what goes in this particular report for this particular company. So when we talk about genre, it's a useful tool for categorizing. It's also a critically important tool for figuring out how we want to create the text that we create. So this is going to give you a chance to play with different genres to create stories, right? Now, how are we going to do this? Well, you're going to create the genres that I'm talking about are things like video essays and photo essays, podcasts, graphic things like comics or infographics. Even I've had students even create websites using Google Sites or Wix just because they wanted to do that to show what they were trying to do, to tell the story they were trying to tell. All of these things are multimodal. And let me show you what I mean by multimodal. Wrong thing. There we go. This is multimodal. These are multimodal genres. Podcasts. Creating an app, that's a multimodal genre. Comics, photos, and stuff. So by multimodal, we mean sort of these things. There's a couple of words you need to kind of know and think about. Is that media, I'm not talking about multimedia. Media is just how things are disseminated. There are different media. There are digital media like the internet, and there's analog media like the written things like books or graphic novels that are not on your tablet, right? That's actually have in hand. So that's just a medium is just how something's disseminated. The genres, the text that we create, are put together by picking specific modes, which is the stuff that we use to build the text. And there are several modes. This breaks it down very simply. There's the visual mode, which is images, auditory, which is what we're hearing, right? Reading and writing, which is often called the alphabetic mode, kinesthetic, which is movement. So this video that I'm making right now, this video lecture, is definitely multimodal because I'm talking, so it's audio. You're reading, so it's alphabetic, it's reading and writing. I'm waving my hands around like a crazy person, like I always do, so it's kinesthetic. I'm also moving things up and down, and it's auditory because you're listening to me. Right? So the truth is, almost everything we do is multimodal, whether we like it or not. even a text, even an essay for class has to be in a certain format. That's multimodal, because it has to look a certain way and the content has to be a certain thing. It has to look a certain way, content has to be a certain thing. So we're going to be playing with multimodal things. Right? So why is this important? Why am I making you do this? Well, because frankly, we don't live in a monomodal world any longer. We don't just really deal with written text like this. We live in a multimodal world. You're not going to be doing college essays for the rest of your life, thank heaven. You're going to be out in the world of work when somebody's going to ask you to create an infographic for the company or to create a blog for the company. They're going to have you writing different kinds of reports, right? So this assignment is going to give you some practice in thinking multimodally, and also I'm going to introduce you to some tools that you can use to create some of these texts, like Canva and video editors and Audacity, which is for audio. So that's kind of what this is in terms of the thing you're going to be making. So what's the content? Well, as it says in the assignment sheet, it's about you, right? Tell us a story about your life that only you can tell. Now, up to this point, everybody's been doing pandemic stories, which is fine. It's been great, and that's some wonderful stuff. But they haven't always been. They've been different things to different people, things that people cared about, they wanted to talk about. So, again, this is all about you. So, for example, you can tell us a story from the past year. I had 3 students from Pakistan who did a podcast. They were in different colleges. They couldn't travel. And they got together online and created a podcast, recorded this podcast, about the problems that specifically immigrant students were having, not being able to go home, not being able to travel, some things about prejudice. It was a really interesting podcast that they made. So that was a story about them for the past year. There's another one I wanted to show you at least a little piece of, and it's over. All I got to do is find it now. What to do with it? Here it is. It's in the other one. If I can get it to run. Go run! She made a video essay about her year in the pandemic. Doesn't seem to want to load. For some reason, it was loading about 5 minutes ago. I don't know why it's not coming up. Oh well, we'll let it load. I'll show you a couple of other things while it's loading. Let's see. This one, the student made sort of a straightforward little photo essay. She put a bunch of pictures together. She used Canva, which I'll show you again in the second video. There's going to be 2 videos here. This is about the assignment, and the second video will be sort of how to do it. She just put together this photo essay using Canva, and didn't use a lot of words, didn't talk about stuff, just put a bunch of pictures together, right? And we got a really good idea of what her year had been like, right? There's a nice little photo essay about her life during the pandemic. Another one I wanted to show you. This one was absolutely hilarious. The student used Canva. She created an infographic, and you're laughing. She wanted to document her spending online. And the funny part about it, she had all these things, and she set it up really nicely, and then, dun dun dun, Mom, which is why she had the spooky stuff. I'm going to have to hide your credit card, right? So she does this, she goes on and on and on. She worked like a crazy person on this thing, all the way down to the bottom. Turns out her family had actually, she had a screenshot of one of her, from one of her friends. Can't believe you spent $500 on Uber Eats, and then totals all together, and then a final comment. Her mother took her credit card away from her because they needed to finish renovating the kitchen, and so they borrowed the card and used it a lot. So that was her sort of story. There are also students who used this assignment to inform us of things or to get us riled up or excited about an issue. One of my students, she's taken the video down, but she did a video on, she's an EMT, and she made a video that she wanted to take to the city council and the mayor to show why EMTs should be paid more than $15 an hour. Okay, and that's criminal, right? Just in general. And so she made this video. She uploaded pictures. She put it together using pictures that she and her co-workers had pulled together, and then put some music over it, and a little bit of text. Right? She didn't talk at all. It was really, really powerful, and she took it down for a whole variety of reasons. So she was, really made a difference to us. There's another one. Let me show you this one. This guy. This is actually something that make it useful. It was another thing to do. He worked at a dental clinic, and they had people coming in with a lot of different languages, and so he was supposed to do a thing at work, like a workplace training, and he wanted to do it on how do we talk to people from different languages. And so he put this together. Again, he was using, this is PowerPoint, which I generally hate, but what he did was he also, you can't, let's see if I can make this go. There's a spoken, I have to share, so it's not going to work. But there's a poem that this person wrote, and so he's got this audio of the poem over it too. So it was really wonderful. And then all the rest of this was for the people at his office, sort of explaining what, these are the languages spoken in his dental office, and who speaks some of these? Well, I don't know. Right? So and he went on and got some references. So this was something that he did that he could use at work. There's another one. Let me see. This is one. Okay, it looks ugly. That's granted, and I gave him all kinds of grief about it. All these different colors and weird stuff. But it's a photo essay about water. The burden of thirst, he calls it. And even without the text, which he really should have gotten rid of. And he did when he did the revision, but I don't have that one. You see why he juxtaposed these pictures some. Let me go here a little bit so you can see it. This is New York City, and these are places where thirst is an issue, right? So he did this 3-panel thing on Canva that used these pictures to create a theme, to create a story. And all these stuff. So we all put this all together, and it worked really well as a photo essay, a multi-panel photo essay. And again, he used Canva. So there's a lot of different things that you can do for this project. As long as it matters to you and it's important to you, it's fine, right? And they don't have to be very complicated. So I will stop this now, and I'll create a second video to show you more about how to make these things happen. But really think about this about you. One last thing I wanted to mention. One of my students did this funny little, very simple photo essay about gardening. He decided that, he was bored and his parents gardened, so he decided to get out in the backyard and do the same thing. And as it turned out, his blueberries kept disappearing, and he realized, he got his camera out there, a robin and a blue jay kept stealing his berries, and he realized what thieves they were. But he managed to bond with his father over this, and his relationship with his father improved, which was kind of a nice thing. But it was very, very simple. But it was a story that only he could tell. And that's the point of this. A story only you can tell, an issue only you can get us excited about because it's coming from your perspective, something that you can use on the job, whatever, okay? But it's very personal. I don't want the history of the pandemic. We all know the history of the pandemic. Make it personal. So I'm going to stop this, and I'll post the second one as soon as I get it shot.